So, Prince Harry has finally had a decent day, hasn't he? His relentless legal warfare with the British press this time went in his favour. So, Mirror Group newspapers has been ordered to fork out around 140 grand in damages to the Duke after a High Court judge ruled that 15 out of 33 articles being investigated were found to contain information obtained through phone hacking or other unlawful means. Mr Justice Fancourt ruled that there can be no doubt that many senior figures at the Mirror, including former editor Piers Morgan, knew what was going on. Now, Mr Morgan emerged today, didn't he, to vehemently deny the allegations. He took the opportunity as well to respond with some very choice words about Harry.
Harry's outrage at media intrusion into the private lives of the royal family is only matched by his own ruthless, greedy and hypocritical enthusiasm for doing it himself. This is a guy who's repeatedly trashed his family in public for hundreds of millions of dollars, even as two of its most senior and respected members were dying, his grandparents. The Duke has been repeatedly exposed in recent years as someone who wouldn't know the truth if it slapped him around his California tanned face. His real mission, along with his wife, is to destroy the British monarchy.
Right. Well, whatever your view of them, Harry and Meghan have taken a lot of stick over the last few years. Quite a lot of it from me, to be fair. But Harry has trashed the royal family. He's let the Queen down, hasn't he, in her final moments, disrespected his father on his coronation day. Can he be forgiven for all of that, based on what we've found out today? Well, with me now is a legendary royal expert and former royal correspondent at The Sun. It's Charlie Ray. Charlie, thank you very much. Does today's ruling in any way excuse Harry's behaviour in recent years, do you think?
In my view, no. This is two separate issues. We have the court case in which he has clearly been wronged by the Mirror Group in this case, and we have Harry and his continual moaning about the royal family, the accusations of racists in the royal family, and the various accusations that we've seen in the Netflix programmes and in his book, and there'll be more to come.
Yeah, all right. I mean, obviously, the idea that having your phone hacked and feeling that can make you feel paranoid, self-conscious. I suppose it can damage relationships, etc. Do you think that's in any way contributed to his behaviour recently?
Can't hear you. Sorry.
Oh, have we lost Charlie? Any chance? No? All right. Tell you what, it's actually all right because we can go straight into the GB News inbox now. Patrick, it will be good to see Harry give the money that he's just been awarded to charity, don't you think? Says Elizabeth. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Surely it would be good. We've just seen the recent accounts published for Archwell. They tried to claim that they've got millions in reserve when it doesn't necessarily appear that they have. Loads of people, of course, now getting in touch about whether or not Harry can be forgiven for his recent antics. We've had the Oprah interview, haven't we? We've obviously had the Netflix series. We've had his book, Spare, or Where, as it was lovingly referred to, as well. Whether or not all of those things, him going along with the idea of there being racists in the royal family, not necessarily being there as much as he should have been in the final moments for the Queen and for Prince Philip, whether he can be forgiven for that. No, absolutely not. How can you forgive him, says Basil. Charlie Ray is back. Charlie, have you got me? I think he possibly does. Yes.
Yes, I have, yes.
Good lad. OK. Do you think that the phone hacking in any way contributed towards Harry's sense of paranoia and maybe the way that he now views the family and views us, I suppose?
Oh, yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, it's been proven today by the result in that court case that Harry's phone was hacked. I think the judge said it's modest extent. It doesn't matter whether it was modest, whether it was one phone hack or whether it was hundreds of phone hacks. His phone was hacked, and quite rightly so. He has been awarded money, 140,000. It's a drop in the ocean. The money's not the point. The point is that he has been proved in his justification for going after certain newspapers.
How can he claim now to stand in court and to be doing a service for people who value their privacy while simultaneously vomiting a load of his most personal information and deeply personal information about other people as well? That poor lady who, took his virginity in the field behind a pub. I mean, he didn't care much about her privacy, did he? He spent the last few years just dishing it out, and now here we go. It's a victory for truth and all of this stuff. How can he marry those two things up?
Well, this is where he becomes hypocritical. He's done all these sort of things, like you mentioned, the Oprah interview, Spare, the various television programs, and he's trashed various people along the way. And yet he goes to a court, which he's entitled to do, and say, my privacy was invaded, my phone was hacked, and now the Mirror is going to have to pay the cost.
Now, look, Charlie, you were obviously, in the thick of it around the Fleet Street area for quite a while. I mean, what was the reality like in terms of, I'm not accusing you of anything, obviously, but what was the reality like when it comes to phone hacking and things like that?
Well, let me just say, Patrick, that today's judgment against the Mirror is a very, very bad day for the profession and the industry that I have loved for 50 years. It's dreadful. And we have to remember as well, there's a small number of people involved in phone hacking. The vast majority of journalists at national newspaper level are all decent, hard-working people. Now, my own phone, and I sat 100 yards away from the News of the World in my office, my own phone was hacked 595 times. During that time. That was the first time I ever heard of phone hacking, was when the police contacted me to tell me that my phone had been hacked by the News of the World. So I knew nothing about this. All I can tell you is that when I was doing my job, I had sources, there's no question about that. I had people who were telling me things about members of the royal family. I checked them out, and we had decent stories. I never used a private investigator, I've never used a detective, and I've never hacked a phone. And that is the vast majority of people. You can imagine our shock when we were told it was one rogue reporter at the News of the World who was doing it, and then we find out it was all being done on an industrial scale. And we've seen how industrial it is. News Group has already paid out £1.2 billion to victims of phone hacking. The Mirror Group is going to find out, how costly this is going to be to them.
Well, quite obviously. I mean, those numbers were news to me there, but I mean, if that's the case, it is startling. Obviously, Mirror Group are not here to defend themselves at the moment, but I suppose they were in court, weren't they? Charlie, thank you very much. Charlie Ray, there, the esteemed royal reporter. Good